Hey guys, welcome back to the biggest agricultural platform in Namibia known as Nduna Ngombe, which means headman of cattle. My name is Mitchell Mutumba Simata, aka the headman of cattle. Today, I want to talk about an endemic that is troubling a lot of the northern communal areas, which in Namibia, which is the northern side of the country. We call it the NCAs, Northern Communal Areas. The biggest disease that troubles that area or that regions is foot and mouth disease. So I felt I should do a video on foot and mouth disease, abbreviation FMD. Foot and mouth disease is one of the, as you guys know, I'm never writing solo. I got my trusted notebook here before I jump into it, and with my information and not so flattering handwriting. So let's get into it. Foot and mouth disease is one of the world's most economical, important viral disease of livestock. The virus infects cattle, pigs, and sheep, and many cloven-hooved wildlife species. The infection results in vesicular lesions in and around the mouth, on the feet, resulting in reluctance of an animal to eat or move. Confirmation of the infection requires a laboratory analysis, usually involving real-time RT and PCR serotyping. Serotyping is achieved using agent ELISA. Inactivated virus vaccines are available. Intensively, I don't know where initially is coming from. Intensively reared animals are more susceptible to the disease than traditionally bred animals. The disease is rarely fatal in adult animals, but there is often high mortality in young animals due to myocarditis, or when the dam is infected by the disease, a lack of milk. The organism which causes FMD is part of a disease virus. It's part of the disease FO virus. No, the virus that causes FMD is FO virus disease. There are 7 strains: A, O, C, SET1, SET2, SET3, and Asia 1, which are endemic in different countries worldwide. Each strain requires a specific vaccine to provide immunity to vaccinated animals. All 7 of the serotypes have also been found in wildlife, although the latter does not play a significant role in the maintenance of the disease to date. The only confirmed reservoir in wildlife is African buffalo, which is in SADC, I believe it's the Cape buffalo. FMD is found in all secretion from infected animals. Notably, these animals breathe out a large amount of aerosol virus, which can infect other animals via the respiratory or oral route, meaning via the nose or the mouth. The virus may be present in milk and semen up to 4 days before the animals show clinical signs of disease. The significance of FMD is related to the ease with which the virus spreads through any or all of the following. These are the ways this virus can spread in your herd. Number 1, infected animals newly introduced into a herd carrying the virus in their saliva, milk, or semen, etc. Contaminated pens, buildings, or contaminated animal transportation vehicles. So the first one is infected animals. The second one is contaminated areas that can help transmit this virus. So the third one, contaminated materials such as hay, feed, water, milk, or other biological products. Let me put this phone on silent, hey? The virus infected meat or other contaminated animal products if fed to animals when raw or improperly cooked. So this is how it can infect your dogs or other animals. The milk, probably why they confiscate the milk, and also the meat product. So the meat needs to be well cooked. This is the fifth one, infected aerosol spread of the virus from an infected property via the air. So if the cow cough, so when the cattle are coughing, the virus can also be spread on air currents. Almost, wow. Then you go, animals that have recovered from infection may sometimes carry the virus and an inactive and initially a new outbreak of the virus of the disease can happen. So if an animal has recovered, it's still carrying signs of the virus within its system, and it could lead to a new infection in future. So now they say public health risk. FMD is not readily transmittable to humans and is not a public health risk. Clinical signs of foot and mouth. Mobility can reach 100% in susceptible population. Mortality is generally low in adults. In adults, you're talking about 1 to 15%, but higher in young animals. So that's how FMD moves about. Calves, lambs, and piglets, 20% or higher. This includes the incubation period of FMD is 2 to 14 days. So 2 to 14 days before it starts showing itself in your herd. Clinical signs can range from mild to inapparent to severe. The more severe in cattle and in intensively reared pigs than in sheep and goats. Other frequent symptoms are fever, depression, hypersaliva, loss of appetite, weight loss, growth reduction, and a drop in milk production, which persist even after recovery. So even if you have milk cattle or your cows have had foot and mouth, they'll have a reduction of milk production during and after the infection. Death can occur before development of blisters due to the multifocal myocarditis. May also occur in other sites. Disease may be suspected based on clinical signs. However, FMD cannot be differentiated clinically from other vesicular illnesses. Confirmation of any suspected FMD cases can only be done through laboratory tests. Prevention and control. In general, it is essential for livestock owners and producers to maintain sound biosecurity practices to prevent the introduction and spread of the virus. Continuing, measures that are recommended at the level include control over people's access to livestock equipment, controlled introduction of new animals into existing herds, monitoring and reporting of illnesses, appropriate disposal of manure and dead carcasses. Contingency plans of potential outbreaks include slaughtering all infected or recovered FMD susceptible animals, and also contacts, appropriate disposal of carcasses of all animal products, surveillance and tracing of potential infected or exposed livestock, strict quarantining and controlling on movement of livestock equipment, vehicles, and animal vehicles, etc. Thorough disinfection of premises and all infected materials. Use of vaccines. Vaccination programs carried out in targeted population should meet several critical criteria. Mainly, coverage should be at least 80%. Campaigns should be completed in the shortest possible time. Vaccinations should be scheduled to allow for limited interference for maternal immunity. Vaccinations should be administered in the correct dose and by the correct routine. The vaccination should meet OIE standards of potency and safety, and the strain or strains in the virus must be the same, must match those that is being circulated in the field. So meaning here the vaccination you're going to use for foot and mouth disease in your area should be exactly the same as the disease that's actually spreading. So it wouldn't make sense that you're injecting for foot and mouth, but the potency is different. Let's say probably the vaccine you're having is a 80% potency, and the virus you have is probably like maybe on a young 50% there. So now they're not compatible, so it wouldn't work. So those are the steps that I shared. As they mentioned here, that quarantining of new animals, foot and mouth disease, if you suspect it, or if you're buying cattle from a foot and mouth disease area, you can quarantine them for up to 2 to 14 days. That's when the disease will start actually showing itself. So it takes 2 to 14 days for its incubation period. And yeah, building up quarantine facilities, controlling movement of your animals. It's actually very interesting that it can be spread through hay, which is the feeds, water, milk, manure. It's quite interesting how this virus can be spread, and this is why sometimes the vets are. I mean, every government has its own contingency plan in case you have a foot and mouth disease outbreak. But this is why they're so strict. The fact that it can be passed through products from animals that are contaminated, through grass, hay, which is contaminated, through even aerosol, a cow coughing or a cow out of the cow's coughing or sneezing or spit. So it is a very transmissible virus, and it's a problematic virus, particularly for farmers who find themselves farming in an area which is near wildlife, like buffalo, since buffalo is the known carrier of foot and mouth in the wildlife. I mean, in the wildlife world out there, it's the known reservoir of it. The fact that it can also be spread by infected meat if it's not properly cooked or properly repaired, meaning also other products such as milk too. So this is why government spends so much money on on combating FMD, which is foot and mouth disease. But I believe if a lot of farmers, as I mentioned, just the first one, which is monitoring your animals. Monitoring your animals is very important. Also, not limiting the introduction of new animals when you're buying probably cows. If you're in a communal area buying cows from your uncle, probably quarantining them, building your own quarantine facility, and monitoring them for 2 to 14 days to see if they might be carrying FMD or any other illness. And you could confuse it with other vesicular illnesses. There are others that you could confuse as FMD, which couldn't be. The only way to actually rightly diagnose FMD is by having a laboratory do an analysis on samples of an animal that's suspected to be carrying FMD, foot and mouth disease. So the best thing is, if you are suspecting 1 or 2 of your cows probably showing signs of FMD, the best thing is to remove them from your herd and to quarantine them. I see how it might be a problem for us because they're saying in dung of an infected cows, which is now the manure the cow produces. A lot of farmers, particularly in the communal areas, we don't have permanent built kraals. We have kraals we move around, and most of the time our cattle sleep within the kraals and sleep in their own manure, in their own filth. So unless you build holding pens where you build probably a holding pen with a concrete ground, with concrete surface, where you are able to come in and scoop when the cattle go out to graze, you probably come in with a tractor and able to scoop out the manure as another method to limit, or probably moving your kraal every second or third week. I don't know how many times you'd move your kraal, but those are ways to prevent FMD and to monitor them, and that is what FMD is, because a lot of people do talk about it. I believe some people might not really understand what foot and mouth is, so I felt I should do the video. So those are my 2 cents on it. Actually, the 2 cents given by the state vet, organization. So with that said, guys, I just want to say have yourself a lovely Thursday evening, and goodbye.